Let's go to another question that's kind of on my mind. It has to do with DC, and you are a person that you always kind of have your finger on the pulse of what our crazy politicians are doing up there in DC, and obviously that trickles down to the states. But talk about what Washington's doing that could affect retirement planning or retirement plans in general.
Yeah, we have a new administration and a new Congress, and they want to make their mark. So they've got a lot of things they're moving forward, and one of them in the House Ways and Means Committee on May 5 approved a bill called the Securing a Strong Retirement Act of 2021. And this is known generally as Secure Act 2.0 because you might recall in December 2019, Congress passed what was called the Secure Act. It had a lot of provisions in it. Basically, they wanted a big bipartisan bill, so they looked at a bunch of little bills that different members of Congress had put in, and they just put them all into one so that everybody would vote for it because their bill was in it. And that did a lot of things to expand the ability to plan for retirement, contribute to plans, but it also, on the negative side, to pay for all that, it eliminated the stretch IRA. And that's the big issue for a lot of higher income, higher wealth people with significant IRAs. Mm-hmm. And so with the Secure Act 2.0, it's a very similar thing where they have a lot of the small changes that are going to make retirement planning easier for a lot of people. And they're going to encourage businesses, especially small businesses, to put in retirement plans that when they didn't have previously. They're going to provide a tax credit for the expenses of starting up a plan, or there's actually a credit in place. They're going to increase the credit, make it more deductible. But some other things they're going to do, for example, IRA owners age 55 and older can do what they call a catch-up contribution where they can increase it. Same with 401k. So they're going to increase, first they're going to inflation index it. Those two catch-up contribution limits have been fixed for years. So starting next year, if this law passes, it's going to be indexed for inflation. They're also going to increase it for 401k plans and simple IRA plans. Right now for a 401k, the catch-up is $6,500. That could go up to $10,000. So significant increases there. Also for employees who are 62, 63, or 64 years old, there's going to be another boost in the catch-up contribution just for those years. Another provision that would allow employers to make their matching contributions to a 401k plan based not only on the contributions the employee makes, but also the amount the employee is making on student loans. So for these younger people who aren't saving because they're paying off student loans, this allows the employer to start putting away retirement money for the student or for the former students based on the amount that the students are paying for their student loans. So that's another thing. The amount of the IRA that can be invested in QLACs, qualified longevity annuity contracts, that's going to increase. It will go up to $200,000, and right now there's that percentage limit as well, and that percentage limit will be eliminated. So more money could go into QLACs. The qualified charitable distribution from an IRA, that's also scheduled to increase under this law. Another factor is employers would be allowed to automatically enroll their employees in the 401k plans. The employees could opt out, but there's a feeling among the researchers and people in Congress that if the default position was people had to contribute to 401ks, most would do it. They wouldn't opt out for it. But when you put a burden on them to elect to contribute and decide how much to contribute, most just put that on the back burner.
Sure.
And they don't do it. So they're going to make it easier for employers to just force employees into the plan and make them opt out of it if that's what they want to do. But, these are like with the first Secure Act, these are things that are good, but they're going to cost tax revenue.
Sure.
So Congress has to find a way to offset that. Fortunately, it looks like they're not going to do one big thing like eliminate the stretch IRA as they did before, but they're going to do a lot of little things. For example, when an employer plan allows a catch-up contribution into a 401k plan,
Hmm.
that has to go into a Roth type account after this law passes. So you wouldn't be able to exclude it from your gross income. It would be
Right.
taxed and would go into a Roth type account. So eventually, when you take money out, it's tax free. They're also going to be taking steps to encourage movements into Roth type accounts. They're going to allow simple and SEP IRAs to have Roth features, which they're not allowed to do now.
Sure.
Um, they're also going to, and this is kind of a sneaky one, they're gonna, for required minimum distributions, these are a big problem for a lot of people who have higher incomes and
Mhm.
substantial IRAs. They're required to take money out of their traditional IRAs. Currently, after age 72, they're going to gradually increase that starting age into 75. It's going to increase over 10 years because the way the budget counters do it is if they just jumped it up to age 75, that would lose a lot of tax revenue in the short
Sure.
term. So they're going to increase it gradually, and anyone with $100,000 or less in total IRAs would be exempt from the required minimum distributions. Now, I say this is a sneaky thing because if you take advantage of it, excuse me, and delay those RMDs for as long as you can, it's going to be a higher amount coming out of the plan because the percentage of your IRA you distribute each year under the RMD is higher. And so it's going to be a larger amount, plus your account balance is going to increase.
Hmm.
So you're going to increase your taxes on the back end if you take advantage of delaying the RMD. So what you still want to do is what we've been recommending people do now. And before you have to take RMDs, look at ways of decreasing those future RMDs,
Hmm.
whether that's converting part of your IRA to a Roth IRA, or taking it out and buying a permanent life insurance with the after-tax amount, putting it into a charitable remainder trust. There's a lot of different options you can do. But what you want to do if you have a substantial IRA, if you have income from sources outside the IRA, is you want to work early to reduce what's in that traditional IRA or 401k. So those RMDs in the later years are not substantial. I talked to a lot of people who are in their late 70s or beyond, and they said, I had no idea this was going to happen. These
Hmm.
RMDs keep increasing each year.
Right.
It's increasing my taxes. It's giving me higher incomes, so I pay higher Medicare premiums. It's a big problem for people. So you don't want to fall into this trap of delaying your RMDs until they're required. This is a situation where many people want to pay taxes early before they have to. So they're paying fewer lifetime taxes than if they deferred as long as they could.
Hey, Stan the Annuity Man here. Did you like that little taste of my podcast, Fun with Annuities? Hey, if you want to see the full version, click the link and watch the whole darn thing. Remember, Fun with Annuities. Live in the reality, not the dream.